Yeah, let's light this candle. I'm talking about Patreon. You haven't heard it? It's Patreon. Ticket Price Podcast. We're on Patreon. I'm doing a new Patreon intro. I'm Jake. That's Tevis. We're Ticket Price. Ticket Price Podcast. Patreon. You can tune into our episodes. We get comment sections. Ticket Price Top 10 Tuesdays. Check them out. Bonus content. Moments in horror. We got it all. Patreon. Ticket Price Podcast. Jake Tevis. Ticket Price. Patreon. Loud noises. Let's burn this candle. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whenever it is you're tuning in. I got tongue-tied. Welcome to Ticket Price. We're not doing the intro again. We're just going to keep going. Welcome to a showdown. I am your co-host, Jake. You don't get to talk. I haven't introduced you yet. Sit down. Remember who you are. Be excited. Showdown. I am your co-host, Jake. Sitting across from me, as always, co-host extraordinaire, and the only man who's so bad at everything he tries, he could break an anvil. Tevis at Master Control. How are you, sir?
My day was really going well until about 3 minutes ago.
When we first tried to do this.
No, I'm doing fabulous. I am so excited for this.
So excited for what?
We're about to do.
Come on.
The showdown.
Where? I believe you mean showdown. Showdown number 2. We've heard what the people want. People said, we want more showdowns. People were like, why you keep doing regular episodes? We want more showdowns. We want more blood spilled comparisons of originals versus remakes. We want the questions answered. We want to know which is better, originals, remakes, where it all compares with each other. When the dust settles and enough blood is spilled, we will have that answer. And I'm super excited because we are talking about, I think, the greatest film series we've covered thus far on the show.
Greatest or longest running?
Both. Well, technically, okay, so we will be discussing the Guinness Book of World Records longest running film franchise. We will be...
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, sit down. I'm introducing shit. Sit down.
What the hell did you just say?
Look out, boy. I'm talking about the king. I'm talking about the royalty. The end-all be-all of the monster movies. King of the monsters. We're looking at Godzilla. We are going all the way back to 1954 and looking at Godzilla, aka Gojira. And we are pitting it against 2023.
Oh, yeah.
Godzilla Minus One. And I am pumped. I am pumped because obviously no one can tell. No one. I've kept my composure so well. No one knows that I'm so excited.
Me too.
You were the worst. And does your anvil have a crack in it?
Yes.
Dunce. Hashtag dunce. So I'm not sure where we want to start with this. I'm not going to lie to you. Do we want to talk about our histories, and then we'll do the tale of the tape? How do you want to start?
Yeah, let's start with the histories of not just Godzilla as a whole, not just, when we first saw the original.
Well, I was in line at the theater.
In 54?
In 54.
Were you in Japan?
No.
No.
Because, it was still tensions were high after the war. True. And I had just gotten home, a handful of years, what was it? What would have been 6 years ago, before that point, from the war. And no, I didn't feel the need to go back to Japan.
I don't blame you. That'd be a little rough.
Yeah.
A little rough. You look pretty good, by the way, for
Thank you.
Being 80 plus years old. Wow.
Owen Wilson? Wow. And then obviously no one really has a history with Godzilla Minus One. As we are recording this, it is still in theaters. Hard to have a history with a movie that's still in theaters.
Well, you could have the same history with this movie that we did with Last Voyage of the Demeter. We were super excited for the trailer when we saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went and seen the movie. And we ended up crying.
Well, actually, not to give too much away in spoilers.
For different reasons.
Not to give too much away in spoilers. We saw the trailer for Godzilla Minus One. We immediately started texting about it and talking about it. Then we saw the second trailer that dropped and we went, oh man, we have to go see this. Then we actually met up and went to the theater together. I dropped half my popcorn, which made me really angry. So I just kicked it off the little ledge into the, underneath the seats in front of me.
Down below.
There was no one there, so F it.
Yeah, there was like 4 people in that?
I think counting us, there were 5 or 6.
And who's the assholes that came in like 20 minutes late? Who does that?
Well, who shows up to a movie 30 minutes before it starts?
Me!
And I quote from your text, it's popcorn time.
Yes. Yes.
The only man who shows up to a movie 30 minutes early just so he can eat more popcorn.
I had to get ready.
Tevis at Master Control.
Psych myself out.
Well, I dropped half of mine. And then we ended up crying after we watched the movie. So,
yeah, completely different reasons.
Very similar. But you'll have to stay tuned to get more details on that. But Godzilla as a franchise, I grew up with Godzilla. Dad loved Westerns, and he loved monster movies. Dad, when I was like 5 or 6, introduced me to Godzilla, and it was like the 70s campy ones where Godzilla's super huggable, and he's a hero of the people, and he saves Earth a bunch of times, and he drop kicks Megalon, and yeah. But that's your love has to start somewhere.
True. Yeah.
So no, and if anyone has listened to the show, I'm a big kaiju guy. Everybody knows this. And now we are talking about the king of the kaiju. Everyone can come at me. I do not care. Everyone has a favorite. That's fine. And there are some people out there who think that there are monsters better than Godzilla and who could take Godzilla. And you guys are wrong. You're so incredibly wrong. I mean, like, well, in Pacific Rim, F Pacific Rim. Godzilla would wipe his lizard ass with the monsters and the robots universally. It wouldn't matter. I feel like I'm going down a weird rabbit hole.
You are.
Okay.
You are.
I've entered some kind of hollow earth tunnel.
Careful. It's dangerous down there.
Go ahead, so I gotta calm down.
Okay.
I gotta calm down.
Breathe.
Take a drink of water.
I don't remember when I first was introduced to Godzilla, but I remember watching all of the campy ones with, even the son of Godzilla and
that's the worst one.
All of them are.
Dad, I don't want to. Shut up. I hate that little bastard. He's the E.T. of Godzilla characters.
And I always enjoyed Godzilla. And I don't even remember what year it came out, but the Matthew Broderick Godzilla.
2000.
Was it 2000?
Yeah, because the movie is called Godzilla 2000.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I don't think so. No, that was not. No.
No?
No. I'm almost positive.
Was it 99?
I'm almost positive it was the 90s.
Well, 2000 basically was the 90s. Hold on. He's searching. Are you scrolling Facebook? What are you doing? Just type in.
I'm checking my email.
Just type in Godzilla 2000 and see if the right movie comes up.
It's weird. When you type in Godzilla, a whole lot of shit comes up.
It's almost like there's 70 years of history and legacy you have to scroll through. Wait, if you're searching for this movie, why did you just search Godzilla?
No, because here's Godzilla 2000. 98.
98.
Yeah. And it's just Godzilla. It's not. Yeah, new Godzilla 1998. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes long. Jesus Christ.
Man, I have the most vivid memories of all the promotional material for the Broderick one. And it's the back. You're looking at one of Godzilla's feet from the back, right? And it's Godzilla 2000 on like all the popcorn bowls and boxes and the cups and the posters and the...
Yeah, no, because the Godzilla 2000 I show was him still in the suit.
Right, but I'm climbing out of this rabbit hole.
Yes, we have to.
I don't care if the promotional material... Because you got to remember, in 98, 99, everything was 2000.
Oh, yeah, because...
Going into this, do you want the tail of the tape of our two fighters?
Yes.
All right. In the red corner, dating back into 1954, directed by Ishiro Honda, written by Tokyo Murata, Ishiro Honda, and Shigeru Kiyama.
I'm so glad you're the one who has to say these names.
With 4 award wins and 2 nominations. With an IMDb rating of 7.5. And a Rotten Tomatoes score of 93%. Godzilla!
Okay.
And in the blue corner, coming in from 2023, written and directed by Takeshi Yamazaki. Shut up, Tevis! Rewards. Missing. My cat is gone. Shut up, Tevis! And I'm dropping the bit. No, okay. Awards. NA, not applicable, because again...
Yeah, still pretty...
At the time of this recording, the movie is still in theaters. And it has not gotten there yet. Now, I do have budget numbers, but we'll touch on that in a minute. IMDb rating, 8.5. With a Rotten Tomatoes score of 97%.
Damn.
Godzilla Minus One. But I also want to point out that now, technically speaking, Godzilla Minus One ties for our highest overall rated film.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
It ties with Spider-Verse.
Holy shit.
Although OG Godzilla with a 7.5 and 93 is pretty high up there.
7.3
and 7.5.
7.5 and then a 93. That's a big gap.
That's one of our bigger gaps too, isn't it?
That's
Well, you know, I don't have any reviews for these films because we got a lot of other things to talk about.
Right.
But original Godzilla had mixed reviews. It was a commercial success, but critically, it was all over the place.
Man, I could not even put myself as a review. I'm sure it was from the time, the reviews from the time.
Yeah.
So I don't even know of any film that they would compare anything, to, like their acting or the visual effects or anything. I don't have any opinions on that at all.
And also, it's a foreign film.
That
if it's a review from the time, written by an American.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'd want to read that review.
No, that would be awful.
Granted, their reviews would probably be off the American release, which is worse. And we're not talking about that one.
Maybe that was the 7.3 or 7.5.
I mean, they're looking at the Raymond Burr one, not the actual one. Do you want to get into money?
Yes. I'm very interested about this.
We'll do minus one first.
Okay.
Because there's less to talk about. Estimated cost to make the film, $15 million. With a current worldwide gross, and I say current because, again, as we're recording this movie is still in theaters, so this is not a final number. But it has grossed currently $40.9 million worldwide, which seems low to me given the reviews and the hype around this movie. I thought it would have been way higher.
I did too, honestly. But at the same time, with it being a foreign film and being subtitles, I don't see it attracting a whole lot of normal, just everyday, run of the mill, let's go watch a movie type of person.
Yeah, and I feel like those fans are probably just waiting for the next MonsterVerse movie. And I do not say that negatively, because I'm waiting for the next MonsterVerse movie too. I'm excited for New Empire or whatever it's called.
That one I am not.
I'll see it, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, I don't know. The newer ones, I can't get behind them. I don't know why.
Right, but for for the casual monster movie fan base.
Oh yeah, I see. Because they're they're going in for the special effects.
Yeah, you want to see two monsters pummel each other, not an emotionally rich story and foreign film, and yeah. Okay, I had to do a lot of math. 1954 Godzilla in American U.S. dollars. Not talking about yen. And I'm not converting it into anything else. It's just good old-fashioned U.S. dollars. It was made with an estimated $175,000. It had a worldwide gross of $562,000.
Really?
Yes, but that is 1954 money.
Oh, okay.
So, those numbers in a comparison sense mean nothing. If we look at it in today's 2023 US dollar value, it was made for an estimated $2 million with a worldwide gross of $6.4 million. So, honestly, if you look at cost versus return, they're following the same rise here.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
The original tripled its money, and Minus One is at the time of this recording about a little less than 5 million from tripling its money.
Yeah,
and with the theater run still going worldwide, I got to think there's a good chance they'll at least get close enough to that point. So they're following the same trajectory, which I think is actually really interesting.
How much money has this movie made franchise-wise off of merchandise?
What is this, Jurassic Park? How in God's name? How in Godzilla's name would I know that?
You call yourself a professional?
No! That also never happened.
You had to know I was going to do that.
No, I didn't know we were going to go into merchandising.
Oh, okay. Well, obviously, because you would have had those numbers, but you know.
Oh, here, let me switch over to my other page of notes here. Good Lord, no, I do not have merchandise numbers.
All right, I guess we can move on.
Although, if I'm being honest, worldwide, I'm going to say Godzilla has not made as much in merchandise as Jurassic Park did.
Over its 70 years?
Yeah. Name a single time you saw someone playing with a Godzilla toy.
I had one when I was a kid. Yeah, I had one. He stood about yay tall and he was remote control. It was pretty cool. You do the roar.
So you've named one.
Yeah, I got one.
How many Jurassic Park toys have you seen?
I never had a single one.
That's not what I asked. No, because your parents sold their car to buy you a 4-foot walking Godzilla robot.
It was totally worth it. I'd have rode that son of a bitch to school.
Just up on his shoulders.
Just hanging on. And then whispering in his ear, do the roar. Do the roar. Okay.
All right. Do you have any thoughts, comments, or additions to our Tales of the Tape?
No, the only thing is that the money, gross-wise, really surprises me. I figured it would have been a lot more.
Yeah.
For both, honestly, for both.
And that it's following the same path almost as far as gains and etc. I'm like, man, what are the odds of that?
Yeah.
Just really seems interesting to me. So, okay. Showdown. Showdown. 2 Godzillas enter. 1 Godzilla leaves.
2 men enter. 1 man leaves.
We will not leave this desk until we have determined which is the best Godzilla movie. We're going to be here a hot minute. We're going to be here a hot minute. So if you caught our first showdown with the Halloweens, if you haven't, check it out. It's a good time. We went into the movies and kind of gave broad strokes what they were about, kind of in scenes, and we talked about it in the middle. And for this one, we will specifically be looking at the categories of the human element, both the characters in the movies and the stories that they're telling. What was the other one?
Godzilla.
Yeah, but he's the last one.
Yeah, he's the last one. Basic directing.
Oh, that's right. Effective storytelling.
Yes.
How is each movie and its overall goal as a piece of media? And then, of course, we'll round it out with Godzilla himself.
Yes.
Being our main event. And then we will give our opinion. So 5 points possible. There can be no ties. We will make a stand one way or the other. Will it be as close as the Halloween ones, though? I don't know. That one ended up being shockingly close.
I'm anxious to see.
Which one you want to talk about first?
Well, we got to do the OG.
All right. Movie opens and we see a boat. It's in the water, and all of a sudden there's this bright light coming from the depths of the ocean, and the ship is in the middle of the light, and then the ship explodes.
That's when they're doing the testing.
No.
It wasn't the test.
No.
Okay.
Super wasn't.
I must have took that in wrong context.
No, the testing had already occurred.
Okay.
At this point in the original.
Okay. Yeah, I was not aware of that.
Then they try to send a rescue boat, and it goes to the exact same spot. And then that boat explodes.
That's right. Okay.
Then we ultimately, the movie gives a number on this.
Like 18?
20 boats.
All at the same spot. Yeah.
This is spoken, I believe, over a radio.
There's a lot of that. Like radio, newspapers.
If you pay attention for those little details, you get more lore of the movie. But a grand total of 20 ships of various size and description sailed to the exact same spot for various reasons and then explode. And at a certain point, you have to think you would just stop going to that one spot.
Yeah, after like the third one, you'd be like, no, let's rethink this.
Yeah, the third one, because the second and third boats were rescue ships that also then exploded in the one spot.
Like, wait a minute, this one didn't work. Send another one.
Keep them going.
Keep them going.
Yeah, so no, I do want to just mention that we do learn that ultimately 20 ships disappear, air quote, disappear over the exact same patch of ocean. Do you see why that's not the test?
Well, I understand why the 18 or the 20 ships is not. But at the beginning, they're all just kind of kicking back, relaxing on the boat. And then you see the bright light and they're all like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. And then it catches fire. In my head, I was like, okay, that's the testing. That's what woke up Godzilla. But now I'm thinking back, I'm like, wait a minute. No, that was his atomic breath.
Right. Now, would you like to know that you're still not wrong?
Okay.
You are you as the audience, the global you, the general you, we are supposed to be thinking of the H-bomb testings at the Bikini Atoll.
Yes.
During that time, which is what that is shot and made to represent, because there was, I forget the name of the ship, but there was a Japanese fishing vessel that was out in that area of the water during the testing periods. And they all became horribly irradiated. Had burns, radiation poisoning.
Really?
Yeah. And they were all, they all made it, I know all or most made it to the hospital, but I have no idea on like survivors. I just, I tried not to get too bogged down in the actual all the historical elements that the movie makes commentary on.
Right.
Because that is, honest to God, multiple episodes in of itself.
Oh, absolutely.
So if I seem like I'm being dodgy or I'm glossing over, that isn't to make light of what this movie is talking or what either movie talks about, but it's just know that we do not have the time
Oh yeah, we'd be here
in
for
this episode and this and the social commentary these movies do. That's not what this episode's about.
Yeah.
I mean, the social commentary is part of it because it's part of the movie, but not the actual deep dive into the history and all of that. But no, so you are, as an audience member, correct in thinking that, because that moment directly references that ship and those sailors. And then it also got into the scare that other fishermen who weren't getting sick, but all the fish they were pulling in were irradiated and unsafe to eat.
Oh,
and it
yeah.
caused this big crisis and scare in Japan about food. Like, how are they going to feed their people? Stuff like that. Yeah, it was a big deal. So in thinking that it was the H-bomb testing in the beginning, you're where the director wants you to be mentally. But no, it's not an actual H-bomb. It's what represents the H-bomb. It's Godzilla.
Well, I'm glad I'm not wrong.
I mean, you're
so much.
You're not really. Although it's for a movie that uses a giant monster as a representation of atomic weaponry, because they don't want to use or show atomic weaponry. They talk about H-bombs a lot in this movie.
They do. They do.
Every other character's like, H-bomb this and Nagasaki that. And, like, good Lord. Why do we need the giant lizard?
Because he's cool.
Well, and I think there's only so much they could get away with, because the U.S. government still had a lot of influence on what media and propaganda Japan was able to create. And Godzilla was one of the first movies made in Japan after the war, when pretty much the United States' hands were off the direct controls. They still had influence, 100%, but they were no longer directly controlling. And again, we're getting into the history, and it's a whole other element. So then there is a survivor from the ships, the 20 ships. There's a survivor on a raft. He washes ashore Odo Island.
Yeah, and who was that again? Wasn't that what's her name's fiance? This is part of the movie that really
I got a little lost.
Yeah, it lost me a lot. It reminded me of watching a Roland Emmerich movie where he will introduce a character for just one specific scene, and then move on to another character, and then to another character, and to another character, and then we get our main characters.
Yeah, because I honestly don't believe that our main character is the raft guy.
Okay, now that I'm thinking back on it, you're right. He's not.
He is a member of that town on the island. He's a villager.
Okay.
He's a islander, whatever. And a bunch of village people come out. The village people come out. Man, there are so many elements to that statement.
So the construction worker comes out.
There's the policeman, the biker, the sailor, the construction worker, the Native American.
So they all rush out and help this guy on a raft.
But while the people are helping the guy on the, one of them's like, my brother, and so like his family is there. He somehow washes up at the beach of his own village, which is nice.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if you have to wash up on a raft somewhere, why not wash up at home?
I mean, hell yeah, that's pretty convenient.
And so we kind of get this little bit of family dynamic, but then there's a earthquake, air quotes. And while the brother who was on the island, the one that saved the raft guy, is outside, his house collapses and kills his wounded brother and his mom. And that's the scene where he's just like standing there kind of half on the beach, half up on that big rock, and people around him kind of holding him as he's screaming and reaching for his home as it collapses.
And again, this is another part where I was a little confused, because I learned later that it was Godzilla.
Right.
But as I'm watching it, I thought it was just the storm destroyed his house, because it was a pretty wicked storm.
Yeah.
And
or was it?
You don't really see Godzilla very well at all, or if even at all. I don't even
you don't
remember
see
him at all.
No.
But that's another part that confused me. I'm like, oh, okay, so this storm damaged his house, and then it's like, no, it was Godzilla. I'm like, oh, okay, well, cool.
Now, I feel like you're not giving the movie credit because we do meet.
I like that they kind of kept it a mystery, I guess.
Yeah, so that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going.
You don't want to give away the goods too soon.
It's either an earthquake or the storm, some combination.
Yeah.
And the village is leveled. And we see the one house in particular collapse, kills the mom and brother. A research party is formed and sent out to figure out what happened on this island. And they determine that the house collapsed, or it didn't collapse. It wasn't blown over. It was crushed by a great weight from the top down. And now we're starting to get the reveal that wasn't a storm or an earthquake.
So that's when you see the footprints and then
the tail trail.
Yes, that was really cool. I like that visual.
In the beach.
On the beach, yeah. They're looking down off of the hill and you can see his footprints and the tail trail.
Yeah, trail.
That was a pretty cool shot. I like that a lot.
And it goes into the ocean. And they're like, would you be surprised if I told you the hole we're standing in is a footprint? What? And they're taking the measurements and everything, and they have their Geiger counters out. And everywhere has some level of radiation where Godzilla went. But that's also when the lead scientist finds specifically a trilobite thought to have gone extinct 65 million years ago in the Jurassic period, blah, blah, blah. I
was like, what is he doing?
Worth it. We got there. And there's no way we can get in trouble for that because that didn't sound anything like the original.
Did not. John Williams would throw up.
Throw up and then immediately punch me in the face.
Okay.
What were we talking about? Oh, okay. So
Tail trails.
But everything's also irradiated. But then the research party goes back to the mainland, and we get another government hearing. Essentially, there's several of these in this movie, where the scientist talks about the trilobite believed to be extinct and how the dirt and the soil around the creature and in the footprints and the tail trail. I don't know why that's our slogan for this episode is tail trail.
It's hard to say.
And they found soil samples that date back to the Jurassic period. So now they're like, there's an ancient creature living among us again. And the theory is that during the H-bomb testings, it essentially blew a hole in a tunnel or cavern wall that connected to some kind of deeper subterranean network of the Earth that still had prehistoric creatures.
And didn't it also mutate him?
Yes.
Okay.
So the blast blew a hole connecting our world to this hollow Earth. I mean, the original Godzilla doesn't call it that, but already lays the groundwork for what we in the MonsterVerse, if you go see the modern movies, know as Hollow Earth, where these prehistoric creatures are. Then the radiation from the bombs mutates one such creature to create our monster. We have our origin story.
Okay.
Bomb makes a hole, Hollow Earth, there's a dinosaur, it mutates from radiation. It goes full X-Men. It goes full Ninja Turtle. It
wasn't ooze.
It goes full Toxic Avenger.
There we go. Toxic Avenger. Look at you pulling that out of the hat.
Thank you. We might pull it out of the hat. God. Joke's on you. So now they're on the island and then they're like, oh my God, what's that? And, up on, over the horizon, over the hill, we get our first glimpse of Godzilla. And he towers over the landscape and everyone's freaking out and screaming. And I like how there are those three guys with their katanas. I'm like,
yeah, what are you going to do?
Bros, you need to leave.
Yeah.
Well, there were also people, they were like, the one guy had like a musket, and they had their miscellaneous weapons. And I'm like, even if this was a T-Rex, like just a normal T-Rex, what are you guys going to do?
Yeah, you're not even going to trim his toenails. Like, you have no shot.
Everybody freaks out and runs away. But then when they look back, he's gone.
He's quick.
deceptively quick. But it was cool. We get our first look at the giant monster. But then it goes into the first full attack. Godzilla reaches the mainland. And he leaves a pretty good wake of destruction. Nothing by today's standards we would consider over the top.
I don't think any of them was really over the top of his destruction. I think it was just pretty fair. I mean, like it is on today's standards, you would have multiple cameras swirling around him and massive explosions everywhere, things flying through the air. This one was pretty mellow.
Yeah. It's mellow by today's standards.
Yeah.
Not, 54 standards.
Oh, no. I can imagine what people were when they first saw this in the theater in 54. I wish I could go back.
That would be just to see what everyone else's reaction was. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he attacks the train. That's a super iconic moment that's been done and redone and referenced, and and he kind of just stomps around Tokyo, and then he just kind of goes back into the water and leaves. But now the big debate, we go back to our human characters, and the debate is on. This creature exists. We believe that some form of it always existed in that subterranean realm. But we as humans also now have to take some level of responsibility because we have mutated it and created it into this much larger, more terrifying, more destructive being. And now they're like, we have to kill it. We have to kill it. It has to die. And then the professor is like, why is everyone obsessed with killing? What if we study it and research it and learn to coexist and then also learn the benefits? Like, how does it survive these massive amounts of radiation and things of that nature? And everyone's like, shut up, old man. Sit your ass down. We're talking about killing. We got killing to do.
Yeah, he's very upset about that.
When our main character... ultimately, later on in the movie, when our main character does finally voice his opinion to the professor that everyone's right, this creature has to die, the professor straight kicks him out of his house, kicks his soon-to-be son-in-law out of his house.
Yeah.
He is so upset about this.
Yeah, he's very kind of mopes around the house and very zombified, and then goes into his room and sits in the dark.
He sulks.
Yeah.
He sulks real hard for a little bit. But he's mourning the loss of what could be if humans could just get their minds away from murder long enough to realize we could research other things and do other things other than murder.
That's not what we do.
That's not what we do.
No.
Historically, that's not what we do.
We see something we don't like, we're like, yeah, let's just kill it.
Beavers, baby seals. We're just like, oh, look at all this crap we don't like. Buffalo. Or excuse me, bison.
I was like, what is he talking about? Baby seals?
Clubbing baby seals.
Yeah. And then it hit me. Kind of like the baby seals. What you were talking about.
Man, my points just really bashed you over the head. Oh,
God. Well, that was...
We've made a lot of horrible jokes on this show, and that might be the worst. But he is the ardent researcher, scientist, professor, student, right? And he knows this is the one and only chance humanity has to learn what could be taught from Godzilla, and it's going to be wasted. So he does go into mourning. But we do get this big ethical debate of, do we try to learn from it and coexist with it if possible? Or does this threat annihilate it, right? I do want to point out, though, this is when, because this is also super iconic, they were like, well, we're going to set up Godzilla defenses. The electric barrier. Do you remember the numbers?
No.
They gave? So they erected towers lined with crazy high voltage lines. They didn't give voltage, but the towers are 100 feet tall and 165 feet deep.
Jesus.
And they line the coastline of Tokyo.
Yeah, that didn't work.
Wait, checks notes. No, sure didn't.
I think it just pissed him off.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a good point that I want to bring up about the 54. This Godzilla, to me, felt very much just, yeah, it's this huge mutated monster, but it felt just like an animal doing its thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
for a while.
It doesn't feel vindictive or vengeful or spiteful. It kind of just seems like a big animal, and it blunders around.
Yeah.
But once he reemerges the second time, and yeah, he hits that wire, he goes into fight or flight mode. And when you're 100+ feet tall, you don't run from shit.
No. Because he fights hard.
He fights hard.
Yeah.
And he's like, but think about it. So he hits the fence. Fight or flight tears the fence down. They shoot him with tanks. Fight or flight. He kills the tanks. People are on the street running and screaming and shooting guns at him. Well, these little things are bad. I'm going to kill them too because they're trying to hurt me. Planes start shooting missiles at him. Like everything Godzilla does is reactionary, or at least I feel like.
No, I agree.
Like an animal would do.
Yeah.
He's other than the boats disappearing. We know that was Godzilla, but we don't really know why. Like, as far as we know, that could have just been the mutation process. Like Godzilla wasn't doing it. It was just a reaction. You know what I mean? We don't actually know. It never says and it never shows what happens to the boats. We know there is one extremely volatile area of ocean that 20 boats go to and get destroyed. That very possibly could not have even been a Godzilla attack. You get what I'm saying.
Because with that flash of light, yeah, it could have been just him morphing into what he's become.
Yeah.
You know, slowly.
Or like if you develop, if you're a dinosaur, or you're you, which is a dinosaur, and you develop atomic breath powers, I imagine there's a bit of a learning curve to that.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Right, where all of a sudden your heartburn is just at a whole other level. But I guess to me, Godzilla felt very reactionary in all this as he does his attacks. But he does attack Tokyo, and man, I thought this battle scene, the Godzilla, whatever you want to call it, Godzilla rampage, when he actually rampages through Tokyo the second time.
Okay.
I thought this was cool as hell.
Oh yeah, with the fire and
the miniatures.
Yeah, miniatures.
The special
really
effects
good.
were on point.
I love watching miniatures get destroyed.
There is something about it.
They're so fun to just sit back and watch. And how cool would it have been to be the actor in the suit, just stomping around this miniature?
Oh man, that has got to be
knocking shit over.
That's got to be the best time.
Oh yeah, you know it is.
Other than the suit being 1,000,000 degrees, you got to imagine it's super fun to be in there.
Oh, you don't think it was air conditioned?
I don't think their building was air conditioned. So. Now, I say, you know, the special effects are on point. You're saying you love the work. Let's be honest, this movie came out 70 years ago. It shows.
Oh, yeah.
That, to me, does not detract, right?
Yeah, there was a few moments when you can tell it switches from the man in the suit to the puppet with the atomic breath.
Yeah.
Where he looked kind of derpy.
His eyes get a little, you know what? He is just scanning all directions at the same time. How dare you?
And the first one that actually got me was when he peeks over the mountain.
Oh, sure.
And he looks like the Cookie Monster. He just kind of like
Bonjour.
And I'm not even gonna lie, I laughed out loud
Yeah, I get that.
because he's like peeking up over it. He's like,
He's just kind of looking around, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm getting at. He's encountering people and civil, but like he's scary.
Oh,
'cause
yeah, but he
but he's not doing anything.
he doesn't know what the hell's going on. He doesn't know where he's at.
He's looking at people. People are looking at him, but he's not attacking, right? Which is what I'm saying. When he rampages, it's reactionary,
Yes.
like an animal with a fight or flight reflex. Now, you were talking about like the effects. Like for me, the one that really got me is during the final rampage. Final Rampage is the name of our band, by the way.
Final Rampage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Final Rampage is going to be the name of our band.
Nice.
Dibs, everyone out there. And it switches to like the police cars or the fire engine going to like fight the fires. And it's just this little model car. It's so obvious, but it's cute. And you know, that's the thing though. It shows its age. And those moments we can laugh at. It's funny because it's cute and it's quaint, right? Maybe that might be a better word. Man, again, you're talking about a movie that came out in 54, 70 years ago. These effects were on point.
Yeah. Some of them still hold up pretty well.
Yeah. Think about now, granted, and especially watching in high def, you can see the wires
Oh, yeah.
and stuff. Now,
Holding his tail up, definitely.
yeah, but for me, especially during the final rampage scene, that let me appreciate it a little more. And I'll explain. The camera's back, and we're seeing the man in the suit, Godzilla.
Right.
He's destroying buildings, and there are model tanks with fireworks essentially rigged, and they're popping, and there's like squibs in the suit almost, and showing the sparks and the flashes on him. And you see model airplanes attached to wires zip by, but then there are fireworks representing the missiles attached to their own guides and leads, lighting up and firing. And that is so cool.
Yeah, it looked really cool.
Like visually, as a spectacle, you're watching in a film, it looked awesome. But being able to see the wires and everything, and again, I'm not counting that as like a blunder or some kind of, mess up or issue, but it really makes me appreciate how much work and engineering and timing and puppetry and RC control and just everything they had going on. So much work went into that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there was a few times where I noticed that they reused the same shot of like the missiles being launched off of the jets, and they just flipped it,
or the tanks,
yeah. And that's smart. That didn't really take me out of it so much. That's just you're gonna have to do a damn plane shooting a missile. Might as well use this same one you've already done. Just flip the damn film so it looks like it's coming in the other direction.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It totally worked for me.
Yeah.
It almost felt like I was watching a student film.
Yeah, but students that were good.
Yes. But I appreciated the hell out of it.
And yeah, my love of movies and film and filmmaking, I compare it to being a car guy. Oh man, that's a great looking car. Yeah, but now I want to pop the hood. I want to see one. I want to see what makes this baby purr.
Yes.
That is how I feel about movies. And being able to see the guide wires for the fighter jet missiles and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm so in on just seeing a snippet of this amazingly intricate and complex puzzle they had for this shot and for these scenes. And so I think, especially if people were to go back and just watch the movie cold, some people I think would unfairly razz it for being old.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, it's like we've talked about before, where you see little things that the director never wanted you to see and knew with the film quality you wouldn't see it.
Yeah, the fake feet in Die Hard or whatever. Yeah.
And if we watched a copy of it in the original resolution, you would never see any of that.
No. We'd barely be able to make out the pictures.
Is that an actor? I can't see. What the hell?
What is happening?
Yeah.
What's that squiggle?
Yeah. They filmed this with a potato? What the hell?
No, the potato's what's on screen right there.
That's Godzilla.
Oh, right. But no, so I thought that part was super, super cool.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot. But Godzilla then goes back to the ocean. Then we meet Dr. Shirazawa,
Snake Plissken.
the Snake Plissken of the Japanese world, of the Godzilla world. He does, in fact, have an eye patch. He is, in fact, a rather dashing man. And you know what? Apparently, he's a war hero, as we learn that he lost that eye in the war. Also, did you notice people were acting like, they didn't say it, but I really got this feeling that people were like, oh, he's disabled or disfigured or both, or you know what I mean? There was a lot of, sometimes in certain words in the dialogue they used. I'm like, man, they're putting a lot of emphasis on a guy who looks handsome and is completely fine and is just missing an eye.
Just this one thing that covers up this disfigurement. I think they a little overreacted on that. A little bit.
Although, okay, if I'm being honest, I have this gripe about every movie that has a character that is supposed to be horribly disfigured or whatever. Really? This is what everyone's freaking out about? Deadpool. Okay? Wade Wilson is supposed to be horribly scarred and mutated.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And you look at and in the Ryan Reynolds movies, you look at him and you're like, he looks fine. He obviously you could tell something has happened, but he doesn't have to hide his face away like a monster, right?
He's not Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger's just a burn victim. It's not that big a deal. In the movie Wonder, which is actually really good, there everyone's like, oh, the boy, and I'm like, he's fine. Like, what are we freaking out about? He's just a little kid. Like, what? We all look different. What are we freaking out about? I have this gripe about every movie that does this thing because I guess it's never done. I don't even know how to word this. In my opinion, the character everyone's talking about does not look as severe as everyone talks about them as.
It's not like Eric Stoltz in Mask.
I don't even know what that means.
You've never seen that movie?
I've seen The Mask.
No, not The Mask. Eric Stoltz did a movie with Sam Elliott and Cher.
Okay.
And
there's a combo.
I know, right? And he played this kid, and I can't remember the name of the kid, but he had I want to say it was like elephantitis.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, his face was, super warped, and he was, everybody was like, "Oh my God, don't look at the disfigured kid." Yeah, and he was.
Or like in the movie The Elephant Man, I am not an animal. Yeah. I am a human being. Like, what the hell is wrong with people? They're not, it's...
Well, they look different. They don't like that.
Well, I'm going to put my soapbox away for now. I'm not getting rid of it. I'm just setting it aside because I'm sure I'm going to need it again. But no, I do have that gripe about every single movie that has like this as a plot device or a character not flaw, even though they try to make it seem like a flaw.
It's like his characteristic.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, he's a deformed. What are you talking about? Like, oh, don't look him in the eye. What? Why?
Don't look at this horribly disfigured guy.
Yeah, don't look where I'm pointing.
He just has lazy eye. Like, what the hell? He's not that bad. It's just Shawn Michaels. Chill out.
Oh, mean.
No, he has. Shawn Michaels has a lazy eye.
Yeah, but not all the time.
No, but he is a super attractive man.
Also, he doesn't have a lazy eye. He had ocular damage, you dick.
Yeah, it turned into a lazy eye. Who was it? Kane kicked him?
Yeah, Kane kicked him in the head. Kick you in the head. So, okay.
If you kick me in the head and I look like Shawn Michaels, I'm all for it.
Hold on. I'll sweet chin those glasses right off your face. Permanently. Because you won't need them anymore. No, I'm just saying, though, but they're like, oh, Dr. Shirazawa, he was, and he's got the eye thing. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, he's still a dashing looking man.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a pretty good looking dude. If he didn't have that damn eye patch.
Yeah. Because that doesn't make anyone hotter. Snake Plissken.
Nick Fury.
Which version? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. No.
Nick Fury. Lord. But he, Dr. Serizawa, whatever tangent we're on, I'm moving past it.
Okay.
There's a hair on the bill of my hat, and it's bothering the hell out of me because I can see it in my peripheral.
If you had an eye patch, you wouldn't see that.
Shut up. But the good doctor has been researching oxygen in all possible different states of matter, which is weird because I kind of thought oxygen was just a gas, but I'm an idiot.
I mean, he's the doctor.
Exactly.
He's a scientist. So,
but he has devoted his life to the study of oxygen, I guess.
yeah, this part kind of confused me.
You've said that a lot this time.
Yeah, this movie did confuse me quite a lot, honestly.
I don't feel like it was that hard to follow.
No, it's just I'm an idiot.
Well, you see, he studies oxygen, or O2, because two oxygen molecules come together and we can breathe it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, he's studying that, and, it's... But in his research, he has found a way to essentially weaponize oxygen, and that he has a device. It's almost more of a compound.
Yeah, what's he call it?
The oxygen destroyer.
Destroyer, yeah.
Yeah, he's dubbed it the oxygen destroyer because when activated underwater, it destroys all of the oxygen molecules in the water. Separates them. And any living thing caught in that will have its oxygen molecules separated, and you essentially liquefy.
Correct.
Is how the movie explains it. And they're like, okay, we will use this new super weapon and we will kill Godzilla. And the doctor's like, I don't want this to be a weapon. Why is everyone having such a hard time with this? I don't want to make a super weapon. And they're like, well, we'll just use it the one time and then never talk about it again. And he's like, you can't put Pandora's, once Pandora opens the box, you can't put the crap back in.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
He's
Can't
like,
put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Maybe you can't. I'm frugal. Well, once the cat's out of the bag, it's not going to go back in the bag. Cats hate bags. Love boxes, hate bags. And so he's like, the only way it can never be weaponized again is if all knowledge of it is gone. And he makes a comment, I can burn all my notes, but the information is still in my head. And if I can be coerced once into using it as a weapon, humans are weak. I can be coerced again. So he hatches his own plan. He does eventually begrudgingly agree to use it as a weapon. They set it up. He and our main character scuba dive. How'd you like the scuba dive scene?
The one guy with the flashlight
Yeah.
was constantly like almost Frankensteining it. Yeah.
Well, because he's floating in water.
Yeah.
It kind of looked like it.
Sure. Didn't care for this part of it.
Well, you can't argue the importance of it in the overall plot.
No, I get that. It's just the execution of it, I think. And I'm sure it was limited, to what they had to work with at the time.
The actor?
That too.
Who's moving around like he's on the moon?
Yeah.
He looked like an extra from the original Star Trek. We're in low gravity. Oh,
Yeah. He should have ended up like a red shirt.
Well, you know who does end up like a red shirt?
Yeah, fucking Nick Fury's gone.
So they find Godzilla. The main character gets back up, but Serizawa cuts his cord to his diving suit. He can't be reeled back in. And he activates the oxygen, the last remaining oxygen destroyer, because he's destroyed all the other ones. And he burned all of his notes and all of his research. It's gone. And then he kills himself with his own weapon as he kills Godzilla. So the knowledge in his head is gone. It cannot be replicated. He made the ultimate sacrifice to guarantee the prevention of a new superweapon. And then everyone watches as what I can only describe as what would be horrifying as this colossal living creature liquefies in front of their eyes. And they're like, It's actually really somber. Like, no one really cheers. It's not like a happy moment.
No, they're not celebrating. Well, they lost their doctor friend.
Nobody liked him. He was
what's her name did?
Yeah, and then she dumped him because he lost his eye in the war. And if you think I'm kidding, watch the movie.
Yeah, she was very, very broken up about it. But no, you're right.
She got really broken up when those fish died.
That's true. Yeah, she overreacted when those fish died.
I remember we're watching it, and my wife just goes, "What did she see that was so bad?"
Yeah, and then you get to actually witness what she saw, and it's like, okay, the fish went from fish to fish bones.
To nothing.
In
murky water.
I'm like, what did I was expecting like a small child was getting dissolved in there from what her reaction was like.
Puppies.
Baby seals. Yeah, she's a little overreacting.
Yeah, it was a dirty fish tank with like 6 fish in it.
Yeah.
They liquefied, and she was like, it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
But no, the actual death of Godzilla is still very somber.
Yeah, and I wonder what rose up into the ocean up by the ship. Because see the water boiling and bubbling, and I wish they would have shown like massive chunks of Godzilla.
There weren't any.
I know, but
that's not how we just explained they liquefied.
Yeah, but you would still see like juice, Godzilla juice.
So I was trying to avoid this, right? If it destroys all the oxygen in the water, it would destroy the water. Would it not? H2O, 2 hydrogens and an oxygen make water. It's gremlins. It's oxygen. There's oxygen in the water. And it's gone. No, I'm not gonna.
So the ending should have been just their ship sitting on the bottom of the ocean.
On the bottom of the ocean.
Right next to Godzilla's skeleton.
Before it liquefied. Yeah.
They just look over.
They should have just plummeted into hollow earth and got eaten by giant spiders or something.
That would have been a good ending. Oh, yeah. No, I never thought of that.
That is my one very minor quibble about the science behind the oxygen destroyer, because again, whatever. It's oxygen. Water is oxygen. No.
Do I need to call security again?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, because this was a good movie.
I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it.
Okay. The human characters of this film, they're there to obviously push the plot along, and they're there to show, from a human perspective, the devastating effects of Godzilla, aka atomic weapons. Right? That's what we're looking at. I'm not looking at acting or actors or even writing necessarily. Also, I find it really difficult to judge writing of a foreign film I had to watch with subtitles. Because whether it's subbed or dubbed, which subtitles are better than dubbing, eat it, nerds, you're going to lose something in translation. Especially a language as rich and intricate as like Japanese or Chinese or something, like that, like, because there's a lot of nuance, a lot of different languages have those subtle nuances that just cannot translate. So, not really getting into that. But this seemed really subdued to me as far as
the characters,
the message.
Oh, okay.
Because we get the beginning of the guys on the ship and the bright light, and they get wiped out, and it's. That's actually fairly powerful. You thought it was an actual bomb.
Right.
That works. And then we see the guy, he's burned and, beaten up, and he's on the raft, and he gets saved. And then they get and then the house falls and kills the brother and the mom and wipes the village out as their family member looks on screaming in horror as he loses his family and his home. That works for me. But then it gets too textbook. Like it gets too detached. It's more like I'm reading a scientific journal or I'm reading a history book than I am experiencing the anguish of people in that moment, I guess is what I'm getting at.
My feeling about that is the beginning part worked. the kid on the island screaming in horror, seeing what he's witnessing, worked. But after that, it felt like the characters were there just to give us information.
Yeah.
I felt like from that moment, from the island attack where you don't see him at all, Godzilla at all, from that moment on, I felt like I was watching another one of the hearings, the congressional hearings.
Yeah.
And that every time every character just spits out plot points and information. And then there's newspaper reels and news broadcasts and radio broadcasts. And it just feels very
detached.
Exposition.
A
lot of exposition.
Expositional?
Yes.
I don't know if that's a word, but it is now.
I was going to say that, but then I thought, no, because I'm going to say that, and he's going to be like, that's not a word.
I make up words all the time.
I know.
You just say it with enough confidence that everyone's like, oh, that's a word I don't know.
So, yeah, it definitely... And then I know that there was like one part between the girl and her fiance. They tried to have a moment, and it felt weird.
It felt weird. And then there was that weird love triangle story that, to say it felt shoehorned, still gives it too much credit, if I'm being honest.
No, I totally agree. I felt like they had these high stakes of Godzilla. They're trying to kill Godzilla. They're trying to figure out ways to do it. And we're in a time crunch. We got to do it. But the woman is like, oh, by the way, should we tell my father about us being married? You know, I love you so much. And I'm like, bitch, ain't got time for this.
Read the room. And you know, now, although to be fair, we're missing a very important piece. During the rampage, the true rampage, it cuts from Godzilla for just like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, to a mother clutching her like 5 kids as they all just look up at Godzilla in awe and horror and defeat. And they're all crying. And the mother, who is also crying, is hugging them and consoling them and letting them know they don't have anything to worry about. They get to see Daddy soon. We're gonna be with Daddy in just a little bit. It's okay. I'm going, oh my God.
Yeah.
And that hit me like a ton of bricks, both because what it is, what it represents, and the fact that it just comes from out of nowhere.
Yeah, there wasn't anything.
There was no buildup.
No buildup. There was nothing halfway similar to that before. There was nothing even after it. It was just like, he's like, we have to make a point right here, right now, and that's it.
There's just this woman and these kids giving an award-winning performance for 45 seconds as they talk about how they're going to... And I'm like, oh, God, think about what she's saying, though. Yeah. She's telling her kids, we don't have to be afraid about the impending death that is coming, and we can't do anything to stop it or avoid it. We are all going to die, but it is okay. Because you're going to see your father again. So I'm like, oh my God, these kids' dad presumably died in the war.
Oh, yeah.
And so now it's like it's a war widow and her kids. And I'm like, oh my God.
Pretty heavy for a Godzilla movie.
From a movie from 1954.
Yeah.
And I do actually, okay, and speaking of the human element, we'll talk about it more when we talk about Godzilla. I want to talk about the atomic breath a little bit, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
This atomic breath, the OG atomic breath. What?
Go ahead, and I will tell you what I'm laughing about.
Melted people, and we saw it melt people. And I'm going, oh my God! And there's just it's the camera is basically like a almost a Godzilla point of view. It's up in the air, it's angled, it's not quite bird's eye, it's got a little more angle to it. You see the streak of atomic breath go by as it just hits these people running, or they're just standing there screaming and giving up and whatever. And then you just see their forms just kind of become gelatinous and just kind of crumple. I'm like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting that either.
No, I wasn't. No, that either. No.
When you think about this what this movie is, and its time period, That was fairly gruesome shit, man.
But no, the reason I'm laughing is when you first see him do the atomic breath and he does it to like the towers.
Yeah.
When you see the breath come out, I immediately thought of Superman with his cold breath.
I hate Superman so
I do
much.
too.
Why does he have freezing breath?
I hate Superman.
Does his body not generate heat? I don't understand.
I don't either.
Superman sucks.
But it's been so long since I've seen the original Godzilla that when I seen him do that to the towers, I literally thought he froze them at first.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like, wait a minute. Have I gotten this wrong this whole time?
It's an ice ray.
Has he got ice breath? And then then it's, kind of starts to melt a little bit. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank God.
You know what? Let's hit on that for a second. The effects of the melting towers was cool.
Oh, yeah.
That looked good.
Yeah, it looked really good.
Probably because they were miniatures that they were legitimately melting.
Just lighting them on fire and melting them with a torch or some shit.
Yeah. And it looked good.
Yeah.
You know what? And this movie invented an entire genre of filmmaking called suitmation. This movie, in a lot of ways, especially its special effects, we can joke about how silly some of it looks or how quaint or dated or whatever. This movie was legitimately groundbreaking in special effects in its day. It invented an entire form of cinema. I know, when was the last time, or have we ever, talked about a movie that was so groundbreaking it invented a genre? The Shining invented a Steadicam, which was a groundbreaking tool. And Avatar, James Cameron, invents the new 3D computer animate, whatever, that we can now do more than ever. But those are individual tools.
As far as creating a whole genre, I don't think we have anything.
I mean, that's actually really cool to see a movie that not only spawned 70 years of Godzilla and monster movies, which is cool, but if you appreciate cinema and the filmmaking process and movie history, you got to watch this movie just for that. Am I wrong?
Oh, no, I agree. I agree.
Before we go into our comparison, should we do -1?
Quickly. I know it won't be, but it's fine.
Okay.
Because I've been waiting to talk about this movie.
Well, then talk about it.
For so long. No, go ahead.
Pass.
Lead. No, lead.
No, pass.
No, lead.
Pass.
Pass. Bounce pass. Okay, I'm going to give a spoiler warning right now. From this moment forward, we are going to be talking about spoilers for Godzilla -1. If you do not want anything spoiled for Godzilla -1, I suggest you stop listening right now, go watch the film, and then come back and join us for the ending of our Godzilla 1954 versus Godzilla -1 showdown. Okay, well, I'm not going to go scene by scene. I just want to hit the high points.
Okay.
The first thing I want to talk about is, obviously, we introduced to our main character. I don't know his name. I'm not going to even attempt to say their names. But the pilot.
Koichi.
He's the kamikaze pilot.
He is, in fact, a kamikaze pilot.
Which I kind of got a chuckle out of because he returns to the base with plane problems.
Mm-hmm.
So he says. And he's talking with one of the mechanics. And he says he finally feels like a real kamikaze pilot. I'm like, you're alive. You're not a real kamikaze pilot.
When the film opens, there's actually a lot of really cool shots of the plane flying, but its focus is under the plane at the payload. And at first I thought, like, is that like the atomic bomb? You know what I mean? I'm like, What is this bomb? I didn't get it at first. I didn't know what I was looking at. I knew I was looking at a plane flying and the bomb underneath it, but I didn't know what the bomb was.
Right.
And then we learned he's a kamikaze pilot. I'm like, it's the entire opening is just focusing on the unspent kamikaze payload. Damn. There's so much to unpack with that. Damn.
So yeah, he returns back to the base to get his plane looked at. And then at night, they hear the
air raid
roar.
sirens.
Yeah, well, then they also hear the roar.
Yeah.
And the guy in the tower shines his light out into the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 100% positive that we were going to get a Spielberg moment of buildup of what is there something out there moving? Maybe some trees shaking. Nope.
Wrong again.
Nope. We get like, what? Was it 3 seconds after he shines the light and the camera turns and it's bam.
It's on.
He's there.
Yeah.
And that scared the shit out of me.
See, it's like, oh, they're not going to, oh my God. And then we get a full rampage scene.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is this is technically Godzilla, but he's not, he's like T-Rex size, a little bigger.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's prehistoric animal size, not Godzilla size.
I didn't know how I felt about that when it first happened. But the more I think about it, man, that was so cool what they did.
When I first saw him, I was disappointed.
No,
I
same.
went, that's it? And then, again, it's like this movie is just playing on my expectations almost.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was just like, we're going to give you this because you're watching this hand when you need to be watching this hand. And I got uppercutted. And then they just uppercut me in the face. And then they were like, oh, you have feelings? Uppercuts! Uppercuts that you never see coming. And this movie just uppercuts you right in your feelings. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, I had the same thought.
Uppercut!
When I first saw him, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to be so pissed if that's it.
But we still get a cool rampage scene.
No, the whole island scene was really cool. I liked it a lot.
Now, though, in the original, we get the bomb, Hollow Earth, mutate, whatever. This movie describes Godzilla as on Odo Island, which is where they're at. The locals speak of basically a legendary monster or mythological monster that they call Godzilla. But that's pretty much all we get. And then everything goes on, or, you know, everything takes off. And so we're kind of just led to believe that there's always been this creature, whatever it is. There's no Hollow Earth. There's no subterranean realm. That's just, no, the local legends around this island are true.
Yeah, almost like a Bigfoot or Loch Ness Monster type of deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just, I guess there's a giant cryptid, and it's real.
So yeah, he goes on this rampage on the island, killing all but 2 because, again, the pilot, I don't remember his name, fails to shoot his guns to kill the beast. The main mechanic, what's his name again? Tachibana, that's right.
I think.
I tried to take notes during this in the theater.
So did I, and I spilled half of my damn popcorn.
It was so hard to try to take notes in the dark with the smell of popcorn coming from my feet.
the stream of muttered swears next to you.
Oh, so Godzilla does this thing on the island, and then pisses off. And then they end up back on the mainland, correct?
Yes.
The 2 survivors. You're going to have to help me out here, because I cannot remember. Was it his mother and father that were killed?
Yes. So he returns home to he returns to what's supposed to be his village, but it was wiped out in the fires that spread caused by the atomic bombings.
Okay. That's what I thought.
And his parents are dead. And the town, village, city, you know, wherever it was, you know, whatever it was, is in ruins and people are still actively, like, it felt very recent that this happened.
Yeah, because there's still rubble everywhere and shit. I think I seen fires still.
Yeah, there were still fires burning. Yeah. And so basically he survives a monster attack, but almost at the exact same time, that's when the bombs went off.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's probably, if we think about what this movie is and what it symbolizes, that is probably the timeline.
True.
But he comes home to learn he doesn't have a home or a family.
Yeah, and then we get introduced to his neighbor.
Yes, who lost her children to the fires.
Yes. And then we get introduced also to not going to remember that chick's name.
I don't. I tried to write it down, but it was really hard to write notes in the dark.
And then, but she has the child, the baby.
Now, I feel like we have
Hero?
Yeah, something like that.
Sure.
So, but he meets a young woman about his age who lost her family to the bombings.
Yes.
And she has a baby with her. But it is not her baby because the dying mother of the baby begged her to take the child and just take care of her. And then, so we have an orphan whose family died from the bombings. We have 4 characters who have lost everything, who are now essentially brought together by the fact that they lived. That's about it.
And they're almost forced. I mean, they are forced to be family themselves.
I actually really appreciate this, and I like this a lot. And the more I thought about it after the fact, and even as we're talking about now, and I'm talking about now, I like it more because it's easy in Minus One to get lost in the desperation, to get lost in the crushing despair, right? But there are kindles of the good in the human spirit and the strength. And we see these people who survived. They don't turn on each other. They band together and become family. And they stick together and they rebuild. And, and I think there's something to be said about the human spirit and connecting with people and the good nature and, in all of us and the will to survive and overcome. There is a positive message there. I'm not saying it well, but there is a positive message there.
I see what you're saying. Yes. My only thing about that is I feel the pilot was a little reluctant because I think he had survivor's guilt.
I think he had a couple of different instances of, which actually I do want to go. You go on.
But that's all I was saying is because he's at points he kind of tries to push his wife, basically.
Yeah.
Tries to push her away and doesn't want to start family.
Because he doesn't deserve it.
Because he doesn't deserve it. Because, he missed out on performing his duty as a soldier. Mm-hmm. He missed out on killing the creature that ended up wiping out 8 or 9 people.
I think more than that.
So he feels guilty for that. So, yeah, he's had a couple of instances where he doesn't feel like he should be where he's at. And
now I want to bring up, because it goes into that as well, but I do have a note here. I did scrawl some kind of note. There's some popcorn butter on it, though, so it's hard to read. But it says, I wrote down duty versus self. Because remember when Koichi first comes home and he encounters who would take on the role of aunt, the aunt of the little girl, the neighbor. She's in tears because she's mourning her children. And she gets in his face. Because she's like, wait a minute. How in the hell are you home? You got conscripted as a kamikaze pilot, you piece of shit. How are you standing in front of me? If you had done your job, my children would be alive. She gets in his face.
She does. I forgot
and
about
says,
that.
You should be dead. Your job was to die for your people and your country. And you're a fucking coward because you didn't. She gets into him. And you can see it doesn't devastate him. She's just she's pulling even harder on a weight that's already on his shoulders. Because he already feels that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And she is just driving him into the ground. And it's showing this Japanese mentality. And I'm specifying Japanese, because this is a Japanese movie about Japanese soldiers. You know what I mean? But this duty versus self. And the movie will go and kind of touch on this more.
Well, when he's on the island, when he lands on the island, one of the mechanics says to him, and I'm paraphrasing, basically, no use dying when we're already going to lose the war.
Yeah.
So it kind of, I think he was trying to help him get over his guilt of it a little bit.
Yeah.
But then,
showing some support.
He dies from a giant lizard.
And who saw that coming?
Yeah, nobody. Except that poor bastard in the watchtower.
Wow. You know what? I need a minute to really appreciate that joke. That might be the first good joke you've ever told on the show. I'm not even gonna, you know what? I'm gonna appreciate that joke. I still hate you, but.
Oh, God. Okay. So the pilot now, he has a responsibility to take care of this woman and the child.
Mm-hmm. And a little bit the neighbor.
And a little bit the neighbor. So now he gets a job.
And it pays really good money. And it gave him a cash advance.
What, 3,000 yen, I think they said?
Yeah.
Which I am not even going to pretend like I know how much that is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not a chance.
So, yeah, he has to go out on this boat and clean up mines.
Yeah, he's part of a crew that are on a wooden vessel that's somehow smaller than the one Quint used to hunt Jaws.
I loved the reveal when he goes and looks at that boat.
It's totally fine. They have specialized ships made to detect and destroy underwater mines, and then he just sees it, and his face drops. He's like, "This is it." You know, for a movie that's so heavy. Because we've talked about this so many times in the past. This movie's levity worked for me. The humor in this movie, when it gives you that little morsel of it, is funny.
Yeah, there was not a moment of levity in this movie that I did not enjoy.
Yeah, but now they're on a wooden fishing boat, trolling for sea mines, and then they shoot the mines with a machine gun mounted to the back of the ship.
Yeah, and blow them up.
And I wrote down here, because this is my next self versus family. He comes home with the cash advance. He's telling the woman who's taking care of the child, who's now kind of taken on the role of his wife. He's got the money. He's got a good job. And she's like, "What are you doing that pays so well?" He's like, "I'm blowing up undersea mines." And she freaks out because she's like, "No, you're going to die and you're going to leave us and you can't do that." And he's like, "Look, I have to. It's the only job out there. And if I don't work and I don't have money, you and the little girl are gonna die. What else can I do?" And so now he's struggling still with this idea of putting duty over self, to like duty to his people, duty to his country, but now he's got a duty and responsibility to his new family. And it's like, yeah, every day there's a shockingly high chance I'm just gonna die. But it's what I have to do. And you know what? I think that's a good commentary on the male spirit and the fathers out there. Let's hear it for the fathers.
Yeah.
Out there, risking our lives for shit. Because we have to take care of our families. It's what we have to do. Well, what real men do, not what we do.
No, they expect food. What the hell?
Selfish. But no, let's hear it out there for the dads.
How great was his crew?
The motley crew.
I loved every single one of them.
So you've got the ship captain who survived the war and is just so disillusioned with the war. He's disillusioned with his country. He's just the cynic.
Yes.
But it's funny cynicism, not asshole cynicism.
Yeah, he's my favorite one of the crew, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
Then you've got the scientist, the weapons expert on board, who was he worked in the weapons R&D for Japan during the war, but he's a weapons expert, so he knows about the mines. And then you have the young kid who just knows how the boat works. He's an extra hand, but he was too young to fight. And that's a really important dynamic that his character has.
Yes.
He's the only one of them who's never seen combat of any kind. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, a couple months pass, and you get this montage of him doing his work and spending time with his family. And then another atomic bomb goes off and wakes up Godzilla.
And mutates
him a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a smidge of mutation.
Tiny bit.
But hey, if there's one thing I know about mutations, it's always slight and subtle. Especially movie-based or comic book-based mutations. You can hardly notice it.
So I liked at the the beginning of on the island where the animals, or the fish rather, would come up.
The deep sea fish.
Yeah. They would come up, and he saw, the pilot noticed that. Well, when they're out on the boat, he notices it again.
He loses his mind.
He loses his shit. Yeah. And this is when we get our first good look at Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this moment was so cool.
So when they're out there getting the sea mines, there are 2 ships, and the ships are connected by a cable that catches the mines, brings them to the surface, and then they can shoot them. So there is a sister ship to the one our characters are on.
Right.
And they look, our Koichi's freaking out. The deep sea fish rise from the depths, which is Godzilla's calling card in this film. And they look over, and like a great white shark breaching the sea, Godzilla just comes up, boat in mouth, and then just crashes back down like an enormous whale or shark.
That was so
And
cool.
I just went, oh my God!
The chase.
Oh, heart-stopping.
The chase. So the boat, their little wooden vessel, trying to hightail it out of there.
The little fishing boat that could.
And you got this big, giant Godzilla creature behind them swimming. Man, he looks so cool.
He looks so good.
His eyes. Did you notice his eyes?
Piercing.
Oh, God.
Orange. Piercing orange.
So the pilot tries to shoot him, and then they get the idea of dropping the
Sea mines.
mines. And one of them kind of goes into his mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and he shoots it.
Very Jaws-like.
Yeah, he blows it up. Yeah, extremely Jaws-like. But the pilot ends up shooting it and blowing it up. And you think they killed him.
Because it blows off like part of Godzilla's face.
Yeah, like half of his jaw is kind of hanging, and they're kind of happy. But then you slowly see he's starting to regenerate,
Mm-hmm.
and they know that they're in trouble.
Again, there's always a ship that disappears when Godzilla like disperse. And so leading to all this, they're not hunting for mines. They're out there where the ship disappeared, and they see this huge military vessel, and it's it's shredded.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And they're like, wait, what are we doing out here? And that's when the guys the captain and the scientist are like, yeah, we're stalling for time until the huge battleship can come to take care of this. They're being sacrificed again. There's a lot of commentary about how frivolous the Japanese government was with its people's lives.
It's almost like pilot cannot catch a break.
Oh, our mate Koichi is cursed.
Very much. Very much cursed.
I am hard pressed to think of a more cursed individual than Koichi.
So that's his name, Koichi. I will not remember that, but I will try.
I know you won't. So the battleship arrives. So they think they killed. Oh no, they're stalling for time. Godzilla breaches up, kills the sister ship, and it's spectacular. Godzilla's coming for them. The battleship arrives, and they're all cheering. They load into Godzilla, and it does nothing. And he tears the battleship apart, which causes our crew to then freak out and run, and Godzilla chases them. Then we get that part. Then we get more of Koichi at home, because we get a little more time passing, I believe. And he's struggling with his PTSD and his nightmares.
Yeah, this is when his wife, I'm just going to call her his wife, tells him that she got a job.
Yes.
And then...
And Ginza.
Yeah. So then, she's riding the train to and from work.
And one day, while riding the train to and from work, guess who shows up?
Yeah, we get Godzilla's first landfall.
Yes.
When you see Godzilla on land and he's walking, when you get the wide shots of him and he's walking forward, he seemed very robotic to me.
And he's oddly thick.
He was always looking straight ahead, and his arms were always up, by his side.
Yeah.
Every time when he was walking left to right, right to left, and always in the wide shots. And that kind of bothered me a little bit.
But I do believe that was intentional as an homage to the suits.
I thought of that too. So I kind of appreciate that, because there's a lot of references back
Oh, yeah.
to the original with the music and the
roar.
The roar, obviously. I mean, you can't do a Godzilla movie without
You can't change it.
the original roar. No.
You can tweak it. You can update it. You can't change it.
No. But when he's in motion and doing damage, man, he looks good.
Yeah. Oh. But, okay, he attacks. But in the original, it felt like he showed up on shore and walked around. This felt like he was attacking.
Yeah, he shows up and he's like, I'm going to bust some shit up.
Yeah, it seems like he has shown up with a purpose.
Right.
And he just starts doing whatever. And because what's going to stop him?
The reporters on the building.
Yeah.
And I realize now, because we watched this, and then I watched the original.
Mm-hmm.
That was another.
Yep, that was another callback.
That kind of took me out too a little bit, because I'm like, this is a little corny. But knowing now, what I know, it makes sense.
Yeah, I can appreciate it more.
Yeah, I could definitely appreciate it more. So the wife is on the train, and Godzilla's like, that train looks pretty yummy.
But he doesn't even, he's just like, I'm going to F that train.
Yeah. Because he didn't get attacked or anything, did he?
No, he just showed up.
He just
and
shows
was
up
in
and he's
full
pissed.
Yeah, he's in rampage mode.
Yeah. He probably remembers that mine getting blown up in his face.
But that's kind of what I'm talking about. OG Godzilla felt, I could just say OG, original Godzilla. I'm pretty sure that's what OG stands for. OG felt more like
but okay.
OG felt more like an animal responding to his environment. Minus One Godzilla felt like he had an agenda.
Yeah, he was vengeful.
Yeah.
He was, I feel like he had an agenda.
He was coming to extract a toll.
So this is when we get our first atomic breath.
Oh, brother.
The spikes on him turn blue and
then they
pop out.
And how painful does this look? His dorsal fins pop like...
It reminds me of my hernia.
Oh Lord.
Every time, just pop. I'm like, oh, God. Push that shit back in, bud.
Go to a doctor.
I did.
You have insurance. But no, so his spikes elongate because they don't pop out as in like they detach, but they jut out as the power level rises. It's like a power meter. It starts at his tail, and then all of the main spines just burst forth until it gets to his head, and then they all just stab back into Godzilla at the same time, like the hammer of a gun or something, and that unleashes it. I really like this take on it. What a unique way to show the buildup and the charge. I thought that was cool. And again, it looks painful as hell.
Yeah, it was a really cool way to show that what he's about to do. And it pays off later. But when it happens and he shoots that blast, wife eats it.
Yes. Okay, so do we want to save the rest of the blast for later?
Yeah.
Because I do want to. I want to talk more about the blast specifically.
Yeah.
But we'll touch on. Well, it's epic.
Yeah. So the wife escapes the train and survives and meets back up with her pilot, her pilot husband, and then the blast goes off.
She saves him.
She saves him.
Not only does she. So they're running atomic breath. The shockwave's coming. They both see it, but she reacts and pushes him into an alleyway, but can't save herself. Then the shockwave just hits, and we see her get blown with all the debris and the shrapnel. She just gets blown off screen, essentially. And there's Koichi, who watched it happen.
Yeah, and he comes out of the alleyway, and he's looking everywhere. She's gone.
Until he just collapses, screaming, and rightly so.
Yeah, and it starts to rain, and the ash and all on his face, and he's like slowly starting to turn ashy.
Gray and I guess it's rain. I don't know, or maybe it's just all the sediment, just all the debris, all the dust and the dirt just coming back down. I don't.
But man, when that happened, my jaw hit the floor,
and then it immediately slammed into your upper teeth as this movie just uppercuts you in your feelings. And this movie's like, hey, you have an untouched feeling? Uppercut! I'm gonna uppercut you. Right in your dick.
Yeah.
Just over and over and over.
Now they've decided they have to figure out a way to take out Godzilla.
Right.
And that's when we learn one of the members of the crew is a pretty important guy.
The weapons expert.
Yeah,
the scientist.
He was a very important guy in the military. So what was it? The bubbles?
Freon.
Thank you. They come up with this
Bubbles. Scrubbing bubbles.
Yeah, the carbonation.
The fizz.
They just drop a couple of Alka-Seltzer tablets around him, and
Oh no, this plan definitely was Mentos in the Coke bottle. The bubbles.
yeah. So they come up with this idea of wrapping this cable around him with all this Freon.
Huge tanks of Freon.
Yeah, and it would rapidly send him below,
Mhm.
possibly crushing him with the pressure.
Right.
And then they're like, well, if that doesn't work, we also have a backup with all these flotation devices. We're going to bring him back up super quickly.
So then the decompression rips him apart,
Yes.
essentially.
So that's their big idea.
I'm not gonna lie. I liked this idea. I thought the science behind it made sense. It's explained well. And it's not some kind of goober or MacGuffin made for the movie.
I'm a little upset they didn't bring in the oxygen destroyer. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
There's a lot of other movies that use it.
Yeah. No, I agree too. I like the science behind it. Made a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like it would work. So yeah, I like it a lot. What is his name?
Koichi?
Okay.
It's like me trying to remember the rival archaeologist's name in Indy. What's his name?
Belloc?
Ballsack.
Ballarsh.
Bollock?
So the pilot.
Oh, Koichi.
So Koichi
Belloc.
he wants to fly the plane.
Mm-hmm.
And so he tries to get a hold of the mechanic, Tachibana. And he writes all kinds of letters.
Yeah.
Blaming him
For the attack and the death of those guys.
And you don't know this. You don't know what he wrote.
No.
Until Tachibana shows up. And Tachibana's pissed.
Black Jackson.
He beats the hell out of this dude.
So clubs him from behind, knocks him out, then takes him to like an abandoned building and has him tied up. And I was like, man, Tachibana is prepared to kill him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But then Koichi, hey, I got it right.
Yeah!
Yay!
Hey!
Okay, well, that's our show, everybody. Thank you.
Ended on a high note.
Koichi explains to Tachibana, I had to write it this way. I needed you to find me. I don't blame you at all for this, but I knew you would be pissed and you would come find me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I need for you to do. I need you to help me. We need to get this plane going. This is what I want to do. And he explains his plan of finally fulfilling his kamikaze duty. So Tachibana agrees, helps him out, gets his plane going. I feel like I'm missing something.
Well, there was the meeting of all the veterans to do the plan, kind of when they explained how the Freon works.
Yeah, I had to use the restroom at that point.
Oh, did you? You did get up. Yeah,
I had to.
I'm going to touch on that later. Then it's just kind of preparation. And we see Koichi make plans with Auntie, the neighbor,
right,
to take over the guardianship of the girl. And he left her a bunch of money.
Right.
To take care of the little girl because he knows he's not coming home. He intends to not come home.
Right. I want to talk about the Tachibana and Koichi talking in the plane.
Okay.
Where to get it fixed, get it working. And Tachibana is explaining to him, hey, this is the bomb here. This is how you pull this lever to take the safety off or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, okay, one more thing. And then the camera pulls back and you don't hear what's being said. There was no mystery to me what was said.
Well, no, because it's spoiled. Not spoiled, but they show it because you see Tachibana before they start talking looking at a piece of equipment in the seat of the plane with German writing. And you're like, oh, that's an ejector seat. There's literally nothing else that could be.
I don't know if the movie was trying to give us some sort of a false sense of what they're talking about, but that didn't work. Not for me anyway.
No, oh no, everybody knew what they were. Literally everyone knew what they were talking about. Yeah, no mystery there. To me, the mystery was, would he use it? Just because it's there doesn't mean he'll use it.
That's true. So yeah, I think you're right with him. Would he use it? Would he not use it? If he did use it, would certain people frown upon it? The auntie, would she rip his ass again?
Yeah.
Would Tachibana want to kill him again?
Yeah.
So I do think that was playing more on our minds as the audience than his actually. The plane scene with him in the plane, the way the camera was set, it looked like he was just kind of in a gimbal.
Yeah.
On a green screen.
Because he was.
Yeah. But then he turns and flies, and then it turns into the actual plane. I just thought that was super cool the way they did it.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking, I'm like, they're just going to go on this gimbal back and forth, and then it's going to cut. But no, he like makes a maneuver. The camera pulls back a little bit, and you see the actual plane diving.
Yeah.
So, man, that was super cool the way they did that.
Yeah, the cinematography partnered with the special effects.
It was seamless.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It was seamless.
The way they paired those together.
I didn't notice. There was a lot of the visual effects on here that I know were visual effects, but they were invisible to me. Like the water. I know all that was computer generated, but it didn't look like it. Super good on every aspect of it. They're out on the ships. They're doing their thing. They're wrapping Godzilla up with these cables with the Freon, and he sinks. But it doesn't do what they want it to do. So they decide to take plan B.
They raise him back up.
They raise him back up. But then he chews through the cables.
Yeah, he destroys the flotation device.
Yes. And that's when our boy, the kid,
who they intentionally left behind, because everyone who went, and again, I want to touch on this once we start divvying up points, and I think you were in the bathroom for this, so it might be news to you when we get there. But they intentionally leave the kid off the mission. I say kid, he's like 19.
Yeah,
they leave the young man off the mission because they're fully expecting, like, there's 99% chance we don't come home, but we've seen war, we're prepared for that. He never did. But he's like, guys, we're a team. Like, let me come with you. And they just wouldn't. And as they're walking away from him, one of them, either the captain or the scientist, I don't remember, explains, we leave the future to you. They're sparing his life because someone will need to rebuild. And they're leaving that to the generation that got to miss the war, who didn't have to live through that horror. Why experience it now, when they can rebuild fresh?
So the two ships, they decide they're going to pull him back up manually, and they start to tug him up.
Yeah.
And then that's when the kid shows up with...
They're tugging him?
They're tugging him. They're tugging him off.
Oh, they tugged him up all right.
Yeah. So this is when the kid shows up with his army of tugboats.
Fishing boats, yeah.
And they succeed in bringing Godzilla back up to the surface. But he's not out of the fight yet.
No.
He's hurt. Yeah, he's hurt bad. And that's when... Fuck. Koichi. Hey, there we go. Koichi. First try. So that's when Koichi makes his approach. And he unlocks the safety on the bomb. He's preparing himself. And he gets there. He flies straight for the mouth. Hits him. But not before pulling that ejector seat.
He lives.
But nobody notices it for the longest time.
Well, to be fair, there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on, yeah. And honestly, I didn't know for sure if he got out completely.
I didn't either.
Because he pulls, and then it's like, bam, it hits Godzilla and sticks in his mouth and then blows up. And
Tachibana's ultimate surprise, he only told him about the seat. He didn't, to give him hope. He didn't tell him it didn't work. What a dick.
It works. There's just no parachute.
The ultimate revenge.
Yes. Payback for the island, motherfucker.
Tachibana, you cold son of a bitch.
So yeah, he lives. Godzilla kind of crumbles.
Yeah.
And the blue light comes off of him and sinks into the ocean. Movie. But they get the auntie gets a letter.
Yes.
We don't know what the letter is.
No.
She meets up with Koichi.
With the daughter.
Gives him the letter. And he freaks out. He's like, what? Oh my God. So he goes running to the hospital. Bursts through the door.
Like John Wayne, man. Just boom.
Didn't care. I don't care who's behind this door.
Had there been a doctor or a nurse just a little to the side, they'd have been taken out.
That would have been great. And then add the
papers hit the air and just start fluttering down.
Add the Wilhelm scream. But he bursts into this hospital room, and there is his
wifey,
all wrapped up and bandaged, and it's a great reunion.
Yes.
And she asks him, he's in tears, and she asks him, "Is your war over?" And he's like, "Yes, it is."
Yeah, and referencing the personal war that he's been waging in his mind since he came home, the one that wouldn't let him live.
And then we think we have this happy ending. The camera kind of focuses in on something on her neck.
Real bubbly, real not good looking color. Black is not
black.
A good. Yeah, tar black is not a natural color on the human body.
No,
especially in your veins.
Yeah, and then you cut to the bottom of the ocean. You got a chunk of Godzilla there, starting to
regenerating,
and then it cuts.
All right. Do you want to talk about this, or do you want to talk about it off air? The wifey's mark.
Oh, we can talk
whatever's
about it.
Going on.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
All right. We'll record a spoiler warning.
Yeah, we will. I'll do it at the beginning.
From what I've been able to kind of think of, figure out, and research, in my mind, there are 3 possibilities. 1 is just hyper-aggressive radiation poisoning, and their reunion's about to get cut real short, and it's going to be super tragic.
Okay.
2, it's some kind of Godzilla radiation MacGuffin. So it's still radiation poisoning, but it's Godzilla radiation poisoning, and we do not know what effect it will have until there's a potential sequel.
Okay.
Or 3, it is essentially just a mark that she will bear as a visual representation for the mark witnessing and experiencing something like atomic weapons leaves on a person. There's no getting away from it, right? You cannot see and experience something like that and not be changed. And that is just the visual representation of that profound impact.
Okay.
And I prefer to think of that one because it's poetic, and it doesn't mean she's going to die slowly and horribly in front of her family's eyes.
Oh. I was hoping for the first one.
It's because you're a monster. I cannot think of a film where as soon as we left out, I was like, I need to hug my kids, man. I need to go home and just sit with my family.
I've seen a lot of Godzilla movies. I've seen a lot of just monster movies. Big giant monster movies. I have never seen a monster movie or a Godzilla movie where I cared so much for the characters.
Yeah.
I was having a great time just watching this family develop, almost to the point where this is going to sound super stupid, but almost to the point where I forgot what I was watching. And when the atomic bomb goes off and then Godzilla's eye lights up, I was like, what the hell is this? Oh shit, I forgot. I'm watching a Godzilla movie. It kind of almost took me out of it for a minute. I cared about every single one of them. The crew, the neighbor, and Tachibana. I was legitimately concerned when they were in peril. And that made this movie 1,000 times better than it should have been.
So, okay. I want to encapsulate everything you just said. And I want to add, you know what? Let's go to the score.
Okay.
Round 1, the human element. Our
Okay.
human characters. So everything you just said, I feel like is part of that. Because we're there, right? We're there.
We're there.
And I also want to bring up, because I will never not take a shot at James Cameron. I just watched a movie in a language I do not know, full of characters whose names I do not remember because they're a language I do not know. And I, with the entirety of my heart, cared for all of them. All of them.
I can't even remember the woman's name. And I'm like, I was legitimately upset when.
I am super comfortable with my sexuality, and I'm super comfortable with me as a man. Okay? This movie made me legitimately shed at least one tear 3 different times. No, there's no shit. I'm just, yeah.
Okay.
For care. And again, because it's so beautifully written. And the tragedy they're experiencing is so visceral, and the scenes everyone gets, their actions, their dialogue, their performances, they matter so much, right? And like Avatar, fuck you, James Cameron. We watched a genocide. I'm just yawning because I just want this garbage crap fest movie to be over, right? We watch one person we think die. And I am emotionally devastated and legitimately shedding a tear. And I do not speak her language. I don't know her name. Yeah. So what am I trying to say here, Tevis? What am I trying to say here?
You're trying to say, I think you're trying to ask a question. How is it that characters written in a 3-hour and 20-minute long epic,
Air quotes,
don't matter to you as much as characters in a 2-hour movie, hour and 30 minutes maybe?
Yeah, it's like 96 minutes.
Yeah, it was
something.
very quick.
Yeah,
It felt very quick.
It's like an hour and a half
In a language you don't understand, names you can't pronounce.
Most of them. Yeah.
Most of them.
I'm ignorant. I can admit that.
How is that a thing?
Like,
how do we care more about these characters over here than we did these ones over here?
Right? Thank you. And you know what? I agree with everything you just said. I think that's what I'm trying to ask. And when you're writing, when you're directing, when you're performing, when you're editing a film, this is the power movies can have. You can move an audience. You can move a grown man to tears multiple times when they care about your characters. I don't understand these people. Literally, I don't understand these people. And I felt like members of my family were in jeopardy. It's so just unbelievable to me how much of an emotional response I had towards all of them and towards everything that happened to them.
I even texted you. I thought about this movie all night, and I thought about it all day the next day.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking about every single character in this movie, and I kept thinking, I'm like, how am I still, how is this movie still on my mind? It stayed with me for at least 2 days, 2 full days.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. Everyone at work was like, Jake, shut up. We don't care.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are going to dismiss this movie as, oh, it's a Godzilla movie, or, oh, it's a Japanese movie. I'm not going to watch that. Do not dismiss this. Watch it. You are going to fall in love with the characters, and you're going to be hurt. There's
a lot.
Yeah.
Many times.
I think when we were talking about the box office numbers, I think that's what a lot of people, because there's people that I've talked to that I'm like, oh yeah, I went and see a new Godzilla movie on, last night or a couple days ago. And they're like, oh, Godzilla. I'm like, no. It's not what you're thinking.
I've battled that too when I told people, and I'm like, no, take what you're thinking. It's not even, it couldn't be farther away from what you're thinking. So, man, now I'm just thinking about it. I'm just like, oh God, it's bringing me back. All right. And we kind of jumped the gun on the original. We already touched on it. Round one, the human element, our characters, their message. Oh, their message. You were in the bathroom. They're talking about the Freon and the plan, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're talking about the plan. They're like, it might succeed, da-da-da. Somebody in the crowd of people that were there. So it's a room of civilians who have been asked to attend a secret meeting because the Japanese military is unable, due to political red tape and nonsense, to deal with the threat. So it's going to rely on its people. And one of the veterans, asks, why us? Why do we keep getting the short straw? Why do we were already sacrificed once and we happen to survive? Why do we have to sacrifice ourselves again? Why does it keep needing to be us? And the doctor has some really great lines about we as a country have been too careless with our lives. Whether it's tanks without armor, whether it's planes without ejector seats, whether, and he lists all, kamikaze pilots. He lists these things the Japanese government and military had done, knowing that it's going to just rack up their own body count. And he's like, starting today, we will not fight a fight of sacrifice. And we will not go into battle planning on sacrifice. And it was actually this really cool moment. I don't know if you caught that, if you were actually like there.
I was not.
Yeah, there was actually a really cool moment there. And you know what? I think this is interesting. This is the first movie I've ever seen that's a Japanese film, Japanese actors talking about Japanese history, right? Yes, it's but like they're talking about their military. They're talking about their government and being critical of it. I have never heard of an actual Japanese opinion critical of their government or military like that. And this movie's full of it. Full of that. Full of why did we do this? You know what I mean? Why did we just throw our people's lives away? And that was really interesting to hear, from an actual Japanese perspective like that. That was cool. That was new to me. And again, maybe that's just because I'm ignorant and this isn't a new thing. And if it is, I apologize and I accept my ignorance.
As far as the human element.
This is not a competition to me, but we have to come to an agreement.
Yeah.
I score the human element to Godzilla Minus One.
In the OG.
Original Godzilla.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what that means.
We actually had a character die.
Sacrifice himself.
Yes. I did not give two shits. I could not care less.
Could not have cared less.
No.
And none of our characters in the original are ever in peril. For all the people that are in jeopardy, it's never our characters.
They're not. No.
The only character I cared about was that mother and her 4 children. So there were 5 characters I cared about as this woman held her children and told them, don't worry, you get to see your father soon.
Yeah, and we meet her for what?
30 seconds?
30 seconds?
45 seconds?
So yeah, you're not wrong. This is not a competition.
No.
Godzilla Minus One definitely has it.
If your movie makes me cry multiple times.
For the right reasons. Not because it's trash.
Are you crying?
No.
Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying.
Round 2. We wanted to look at effective storytelling.
Yes.
And the filmmaking process.
Okay.
In OG, we kind of touched on it before. We get moments of Godzilla broken up by what kind of just feels like exposition dumps and plot point dumps. And that's all it really is. There's a real ham-fisted love triangle that doesn't do anything. Even the side story, not just the love triangle story, but like the side story of the main character is going to ask the professor/father's permission to marry his daughter. No one cares. We don't care about these characters. We don't get to spend meaningful time with them. They're just there to explain what's happening in between Godzilla sightings, right? I get what they're saying as far as its connection and its social commentary. But it's told like I'm reading a textbook. I'm not experiencing it. I'm just reading it. And -1, I cried.
That's not crying.
As far as effective filmmaking, you're writing and you're directing, you're acting, right? There's that part of it. In OG, when Godzilla attacks, whether it's a suit, whether it's the puppet, and the composition shots, whatever, I still think he looks cool. It's a great base design. He's king of the monsters for a reason. And when he rampages, and the film shows its age, and I don't say that as a derogatory statement, it's just a statement of fact. When the film shows its age, but you're seeing the miniatures, and you're seeing the wires with the planes and the missiles and the pyro and the pyro squibs on the suit and the buildings coming down. It's so cool. It is such a fantastic feat of practical engineering. You and I love practical effects. It doesn't get more practical than Godzilla. So I love that. But then in -1, when we're seeing the water so realistic and all the fluid simulations and the roiling water and the white water as he's erupting, Godzilla himself, especially in the water, he's hot fire. When he's on land, he's awkward, he's fat. It's fat Godzilla. I don't know why he's so fat. I'm body shaming Godzilla, by the way, and don't come at me. I don't even care. If you watch Godzilla 2014, his feet are stumpy and stupid.
He's fat.
He's fat. But no, so he's kind of awkward. But again, I still think but when he's in motion, it's amazing. I think those robotic Saki are an homage to the suits, and I'm fine with that. It does not take me out of the film whatsoever. I'm fine with that. So when I'm thinking about and it's all computer and it's impressive, it doesn't break new ground though. The original broke all kinds of new ground, created its own genre of film. But if I look at it as a whole, -1 tells the same story better. The films are roughly the same length, but the way the story is told in -1, I'm experiencing it. I'm feeling it. And that's the biggest takeaway. I felt this movie. In the original, they're telling it to me like I'm a child. And I'm reading it in a textbook. I'm like, okay, this is cool. So while I'm actually putting them on equal footing for special effects, I want to make that very clear. I'm putting them on equal footing for special effects. I love the effects of the original. But if we're looking at it overall, -1 is better.
The original, just as a editing standpoint, there are a lot of shots that I feel like don't need to be there. Like there's a lot of quick, like when the helicopter lands, then there's a wipe. There's a lot of wipes in this, but there's a wipe, and then there's a shot of the guy, the journalist, getting off the helicopter, and then he stands and he looks, and then there's another wipe, and then there's another shot of him standing talking to one of the village people.
Was it the cop?
It was the cop.
Was it the sailor?
But
which one was it? Was he asking directions for the YMCA?
He's looking for the toolbox.
I needed this. I'm not gonna lie. I needed a good laugh.
So, and then there's a lot of that. Like when they go to see Snake Plissken about his
horrible disfigurement.
Horrible disfigurement. Like there's a shot of the motorcycle driving to the complex with the guys at, and then there's another wipe, and then there's another shot of the car driving, and then another wipe, and I'm just like, why is there so many like quick 3-second shots here? There's a lot of that in this movie, and that confused me. It took me out of it. I'm like, I don't understand why we're doing all this. There in -1, there was not a single moment I feel that didn't need to be there. As far as we've already talked about the people, the characters, -1 definitely has it there.
Mm-hmm. If I think about it too hard, I'll cry again.
Don't cry again.
Tell me not to cry. Fuck you. I'll cry if I want to. This is my podcast, and I will cry if I want to.
And you're not wrong about it. Felt like textbook.
Mm-hmm.
I had a teacher in college who the way she taught was word for word out of the textbook.
Oh,
and I'm like, I'm paying money for this? Like, I've already paid money for the book. Why do I have to have you read it to me? Like, I can fucking read the book. Like, what are we doing?
wait, can you?
Yeah, I'm reading my notes right here. This says Godzilla.
Oh,
There we
prove
go.
me wrong.
Yeah. And that's what I felt like here was the only reason the characters are there. Feed me information.
Mm-hmm.
As far as special effects go, the only thing about the OG one that threw me was the derpy hand puppet.
He was scanning both of his sides angles.
He looked like Sid the Sloth from Ice Age.
If you made Sid the Sloth into a Sesame Street style puppet.
Yep. But I understand why they needed to do it with the breath and, and I'm sure in 1954 that looked awesome.
And to be fair, we laugh about it. It's honestly not that big a deal.
No, it's not.
It's funny.
It's funny.
It's funny.
I feel like -1 did a better job every step of the way than the OG. So I got to give it -1 as far as directing goes.
All right, so round 2, the art of filmmaking, -1.
-1.
2-0. Also, although, hear me out. Okay, so round 3. The final round about direct comparisons of the movie. Obviously, in Halloween, we saved Michael Myers for last. For Godzilla, obviously, we saved Godzilla for last. We will compare king to king. Now, I do have to give points to OG. You can't sneak up on him because he's got that. His eyes see everything, man. There's no sneaking up on him. You can ambush Godzilla? I don't think so. He sees you coming.
I don't know. He can't see underwater. Those guys ambushed him down there.
Yeah, but that would be the equivalent of us noticing an ant.
That's true. That is true.
See, this one's got me. I'm trying to think of how I want to talk about or describe this. Because in essence, I think visually, they're the same. Hear me out. Because obviously that is an untrue statement. But we're talking about two movies 70 years apart.
Right.
You have to give some leeway here. So when I think of the original one, body is right, and the plates on his back, and the head, and the face, and the atomic breath, like all the elements are there. Him swimming in the ocean, it's all there. It just looks like it's from 54 because it is. Right? And then when you look at the elements, when you look at Godzilla today, so obviously like today's Godzilla looks cooler, but again, that's not apples to apples, or at least in my mind it isn't.
I don't know. You're not wrong. It's not fair, but I want to give something to the original Godzilla, a kind of a point to him. When he goes on his rampage and sets fire to the entire island, the shot of all the fire and then him walking across the scene, that was more impressive to me than 90% of what -1 did.
Because I agree with that, because while this isn't taking away all of the crazy hard work that those artists did, it's on a computer, and it's a little easier than practically setting up all of your elements and your timing and your wires and your controls and all the people in the right place knowing their jobs. And then you're not working with a save file, you're working with physical film and the splicing and the exposure, and you know what I mean? It's more difficult.
It felt real. I mean, for one, because it was as real as, I mean, the miniatures are on fire and guy in a rubber suit is stomping on stuff, but
now, can I counterpoint that?
Yeah.
From a special effects point of view, like we're talking about, 100%. But from a cinematography, I want to argue your special effects with cinematography.
Okay.
In Minus One, most of our shots during Godzilla's rampage are from an over-the-shoulder perspective of a person. Or the vast majority of the time, if not every time, there's a person in the shot giving us reference.
Oh, yeah.
So Minus One gives us a different, like in the original, we get an idea of the scale because it's all models, it's to size, right? And that's cool, and we get an idea of this giant monster tearing buildings down. But in Minus One, because of the cinematography, we get a size of the scale from what would be our perspective on the street as it happens. And it felt real to me.
I'll give you that one.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so where the computer animation and all of that may not feel as real as practical effects, I feel like that's when that smart cinematography comes in.
Yeah. Well, it's also, you can do that with the computer.
True.
I really appreciate the fact this movie pulled off Godzilla the way they did without having to do like crazy camera angles and crazy, Godzilla doesn't jump over things, and just take advantage of the computer animation that they could have done.
They didn't go too far.
And there's moments where you just see like a ship coming from off screen and blows up, and you're like, oh shit, what the hell?
Yeah. 20 of them.
So I really,
they just kept going to that same spot. I don't know why.
So I really appreciate that they held back.
Mm-hmm. So I do think there's something to be said for having and knowing when to have restraint.
Yes. With computer graphics and computer animation and CGI, a lot of filmmakers would be like, no, we're going to do this because it's going to be cool, and we're going to show this, and we're going to,
it could have become Jurassic World.
It could have been Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Or...
No, this still felt like Godzilla. He acted like Godzilla. He didn't do anything that you're like, he wouldn't do that? You know what I mean? It felt true to character, as ridiculous as that sounds, because we're talking about a hundreds of foot tall lizard monster.
Yeah.
But he acted appropriately.
I feel like Minus One's atomic blast was way better.
Oh my God.
Than the
horrifying. OG. Okay, we didn't talk. So, OG, Godzilla charges up. Even in the original, he still charges up. I forgot he charged up. And that is still the coolest shit to me. Is the exposure levels are different on his fins, and it lights up.
Yeah,
that is still the coolest thing. Yeah. And then, but it's more of like a steam. Well, probably because it was steam, but it was more of like a steam of just like pure heat, almost.
Yeah.
And it actively just melted everything it touched. And I think that, in a nutshell, that was the original's atomic stuff. Would catch fire, it would melt, people devastated. And it was just like a super intense steam heat ray kind of a thing. Do you want to try to explain Minus One?
Oh, Minus One was... He basically was just like, here's an atomic bomb. And when he first does it...
So we talked about the charge up.
Yeah.
But all the plates go in.
Plates go in, and he unleashes. It fucking travels far.
Mm.
I mean, I'm sure he's like, get this son of a bitch away from me. It literally is an atomic bomb going off. and bringing down the ash and then the shockwave and the camera angle that they had of it, looking up at him with that in the background.
Like from a person's perspective.
Like a person's perspective. And all the crowd is like, what is he doing? And they're kind of like awestruck.
Yeah.
And then seeing this go off, it's like what they witnessed.
Jesus.
Back then.
I literally can't imagine. I have a good imagination, but I can't process that level of destruction. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because, when it goes off and the shockwave comes, there's nobody left.
Koichi's left. Because that poor son of a bitch is always left.
Yeah, he's, like you said, he's cursed.
Can I go into, because again, the artists that worked on this, there are so many kind of subtle things or things that happen kind of quick, so they may get missed or whatever, but they put so much work into really showing how strong the blast is. Godzilla charges up and he shoots, right? Do you notice, because the beam goes through, like, down a street, and there's buildings on both sides. But did you notice that as the beam travels, there's the beam, but then there's the concussive force radiating from the beam's point of travel, and it blows circular indentations out of the buildings that flank it. Did you notice that?
I didn't catch that.
So if you have you've got a city street, you got street in the middle, just say skyscrapers or whatever, lining both sides. The beam goes down the street. All the buildings on the left-hand side have a half circle, and all the buildings on the right side have the opposite half circle from the power of the beam.
That's
Never
awesome.
seen that before. That was cool as hell. The beam reaches its target, and it is a full mushroom cloud. Like you said, it is an atomic bomb drop. And then, so we get this spectacular, terrifying explosion. And then this movie continues to follow it up with something that none of the others do. What goes with the explosion? The shockwave that just levels everything and everyone in its radius. And you can just, even sitting in the theater, you can just feel it. It's like a punch to the chest. You can just feel it as it hits. And then when you look at like Godzilla, as he's charging it up, he opens his mouth and you can see the blue energy emit from his mouth. The light. He turns into a flashlight for a second, right? As you can see the energy, the light and the energy from the beam forming in his throat or chest or wherever the hell his beam forms. I don't know. I'm no big city monsterologist. Then afterwards, it turns and we see Godzilla's face. And if you notice, he has burns around his mouth where the heat and the energy of his own atomic blast burned his face off. And then he ultimately regenerates it. He melts his own face. Metal.
That is awesome.
That's metal as hell.
That is awesome.
You might be metal, but you're not Godzilla melting his own face off with his atomic breath metal. I think we're there.
So let me ask you.
Okay.
If we put, because we did this on the Halloween.
Okay, yeah. The actual.
If we put 54 and -1 in a Tokyo setting, who would come out on top?
It's not even close. -1. We said in Halloween, 07 Michael Myers would just effortlessly wipe the floor with OG Michael Myers, because 07 Michael Myers is like 8 feet tall, right?
Yeah, he is Godzilla.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Between these two, I don't think there's a contest. I really don't.
-1, like we said, he seems vengeful.
He has purpose.
He does.
The other
have
one
purpose.
didn't have purpose. This one has purpose.
Yeah. Okay.
Take him out of the arena, have them shoot their atomic blasts at each other, so they meet in the middle, Dragon Ball Z style. I feel like -1 breath would just dissipate all of the originals and then just hit him square in the head, and then the atomic explosion would just decapitate the original Godzilla. It would be horrifying.
The original's atomic breath reminds me of a can of aerosol deodorant.
Yes, go on.
And -1 is like if you had that same can, but replaced its contents with an atomic bomb.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
Wait.
How would that work?
That doesn't make sense. You're just over there spouting gibberish
Yeah,
about cans.
That's what I do.
About aerosol cans.
But no, I think if you put those two at a distance and had them shoot their shit at each other.
Yeah, if it was like a sniper off. Yeah.
No, there's no way. The OG one wouldn't even get anywhere near him.
If -1 never shot and it was just original, his atomic breath literally wouldn't make the distance.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. It would smell fantastic.
As long as he didn't get melted by it. All right, so round 3, Godzilla himself. It's -1.
It's -1.
It's -3. No, at this point, our opinions do not matter. There are 5 rounds, 3 categories comparing the movies, and then you and I's respective opinions. 5 points total. -1 has swept the board thus far. Mathematically, Godzilla -1 is your showdown victor, ladies and gentlemen. But we like to hear our own voices, so we're still going to give our own. Tevis, take us home. Take it to the rim. I pass.
Okay, so my final thoughts. My point goes to -1. I wish I would have done this a little differently. I wish I would have watched the original one before going to see -1.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't. So that way I'd have known, the callbacks a little more than I did.
That just means you get to watch it again.
I know, that sucks. Gotta go watch it again. Okay, let's go watch it right now. There was, in -1, there was not a moment I did not enjoy. There was not a moment that I didn't care for the characters on screen. I cannot say the same for the OG. There were multiple times where I was like, what am I watching? I was kind of bored. Didn't give a shit about anybody in the movie. The only one I halfway kind of liked was Nick Fury guy.
He's so suave.
Yeah.
Despite his overwhelming disfigurement.
I don't know how he found it to go on. I do give credit to the OG with the special effects. They're still cool. Even 70 years later. With the exception of the derpy Muppet. But
he was checking for surprise attacks. I don't know why I have to keep explaining this to you.
No, I said this before though. I've seen a lot of Godzilla movies, a lot of monster movies. This is the first one I've ever cared about. Not just one character, like all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I cared for every character that we got to see. So I gotta give my point to -1.
Or nothing. I literally don't know what to say. I have seen every Godzilla movie. Up until this one, I've seen every Godzilla movie multiple times. I love Godzilla. Always have, always will. The original will never diminish in my eyes. I'm not saying it doesn't have flaws. I'm saying it will never diminish. You cannot take away what the film is, what it created, and the lasting legacy stemming from it. That being said, Godzilla -1 is, hands down, the greatest Godzilla movie I have ever seen. Yeah.
Okay.
If you've never seen the original, especially if you love movies, watch the original. There's so much to enjoy and take in. But from just a total, because what is our show always about? A film as a piece of media, top to bottom, front to back.
As a whole. Yeah.
As a whole. Godzilla -1 is the greatest Godzilla movie that has ever been made.
I agree with that.
It has action. It has chaos. It has heart. It has tragedy. It has love. It has terror. Godzilla Minus One might be my new favorite horror movie. And if anyone's like, well, it's not really a horror movie, fuck you, it's not a horror movie. Yeah. Then why is there pee in my pants?
There's a little pee coming out of me right now.
There are tears on my face, and there's pee in my pants, and there's popcorn all over the floor. So when I say that, and when I give my point, it is in no way a derogatory or a negative statement to the original, but it is in every way wholeheartedly a praise for how great Godzilla Minus One is. So the fifth and final point, Godzilla Minus One.
Damn, sweep.
That is a clean sweep.
Yeah, and you know what? You're not wrong. This is the greatest Godzilla movie. And this, we talked about this when we left the theater. I said this is probably the second best movie I've seen all year.
Mm-hmm.
With my first being Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse, the sequel.
Yeah, Across, yeah.
Man. It's a close. This probably is the best movie I've seen all year.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to watch them again, both of them. It's so fucking good.
And to me, I would say this is the best movie I've seen all year, without a doubt, because technically, all throughout, it's phenomenal. If you want to look at it, and it's the nuts and bolts, it's phenomenal. But then look at it as a piece of art, as a piece of media. I cannot stress this enough. This movie made me cry in the theater. Why are you laughing at that, you animal? But really think about because what is film? It's art.
Absolutely.
And this genuinely moved me to that kind of emotional level. There are films I enjoy. There are films I love. I don't move that easy. And this took me to that point a couple times. And that is the highest praise I could say for a film, that it moved me to this point. Okay, and you know what? All this happened 96 minutes. It's not 3 hours. It's not 4 hours. It's not. It is crisp. It is cut. It is edited. It is lean. There's not a single ounce of fat on this movie. Unlike Godzilla, but that's a separate issue. The movie does not have
fat shaming Godzilla.
The movie has no fat. That's effective filmmaking. You have 2 hours. Make it work. You have 2.5. Sure. You have 3 rare occasions. Fine. If you have to go over 3, fuck you and your movie.
Yeah, when we left the theater, I was expecting it to be like 10:30, 11 o'clock. I didn't realize how long the movie was. I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I just 7:30 it starts. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I did. I anticipated. I was like, man, we're gonna walk out of here. It's gonna be 10:30, 11 o'clock.
It was like 9/11.
Yeah. It was.
Wait.
No.
Wait. Whoa. Wait.
It was 9:12.
It was like 9:12 when we left the theater. God, there are so many things you can't say. You have to be careful about.
You had so many numbers you could have said.
I know, but that's when it happened. Oh God. I did not mean that's when it happened. I mean the movie started at 7:30 and it ended a little after 9.
It ended at 9:10.
And we left. It took us approximately 2 to 3 minutes to leave the cinema. So it was 9:13. Oh my God.
Oh,
no! Why are you turning the show off? Where are you all going? You know what I meant! Come back!
Oh, you hear that? That's the sound of our followers clicking delete.
That's not. All right. Well, we're going to hell.
Oh, this was fun.
Oh my God. All right. Now, we're getting back to our regularly scheduled programming after this, right?
Right.
There's no hat.
Nope, no hat.
No hat. All right,
No, this is
everyone.
just a special.
Just a special showdown. Episode 2, Godzilla Minus One, 5-0. Brutal.
Yeah, I didn't think it'd be 5.
I kind of had an idea it would
You
be
did?
fun. Going into it, I was like, yeah. I thought maybe, but I didn't know your mind. I had an idea, though. We've been doing the show long enough.
Yeah, I thought you might give it to the OG for, just being the OG.
I want to, and I still give that all the credit, but I can't, right? And we're not going to get back into it. But I do want to take a moment to just thank everyone for listening, for experiencing this with us. I hope you had a good time. Whether if you're listening on Spotify or whatever it was, Tevis always does his best to set up a Q&A section. Drop us a line. Let us know if you want more showdowns. We'll do them. And if you want more showdowns, throw us an idea. What do you want to hear us talk about? And obviously, if you're on Patreon, it's Patreon, and you can hit us up there as well. As always, that's Tevis. I'm Jake. We're Ticket Price. You got anything?
No, I'm just looking forward to the next episode we're going to do. As always, I always look forward to these.
I do too. Although they're usually more fun and not as tear-jerking.
Oh, we don't talk about, such deep subject matter like atomic bombs and 9/11.
God, Steve. I just wanted to see a giant monster walk through a city, and it's just spiraled out of control. Okay, everyone, be good to each other. Hug your family. Be careful with your words and your dates and your times. Words matter. Numbers matter. Give up. Enjoy the next episode with your new host. As soon as I get canceled, we're Ticket Price, everyone. Be good.